to Connect and Create, a show for the culture. Here, we will share valued information for growth and success from many different perspectives. Connect and Create is presented by Launcharts Network, a newly created content division of Launcharts Media. Launcharts Media provides high creative branding and advertising services to both brands and organizations, primarily through video content production and digital marketing. Today's theme is Young, Black, and Female Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Ashley Hill. I'm a Launcharts associate and contributor, as well as an owner of 3 different businesses myself. I am joined today by 3 wonderful ladies who are all Black women in business. We're going to go ahead and have you all take a few seconds to introduce yourselves, your main title, main brand, and/or enterprise.
Hi, my name is Imani Capri. I go by the moniker of #1 Energy Elevation Coach. I own an empowerment business, host a radio show, and do motivational speaking.
Awesome.
And I'm Linnea Willis, CEO of LP Counseling and Therapy Services, and I provide therapy, mental health services to individuals and couples.
And hi, I'm Simiatu, co-owner of Crossbridge Freight Incorporated. We are women in trucking, locally and nationally.
Our talk will be centered around 7 selected questions that we feel like-minded creatives and entrepreneurs in this space would like more insight on. So let us begin. All right, so who wants to start? My first question is going to be, how do you balance your work and your life?
I guess I'll start. So for me, I think the easiest part is that I actually have a partner that is helpful. So with him kind of running assist for me, I'm able to juggle work, family, taking care of the home itself. And I think that's what helps me with keeping everything together.
Support is definitely key. Definitely key. Anyone else want to?
Me, as I stated before, I'm a co-owner of a trucking company. So we basically do our best to bounce off of each other, and each person, even though we all have our separate roles, we, as I would say, learn the front of the office and know the back of the office. That way, if I can't do something, the other two partners can do something as well. Balancing, you said,
your work life,
work life, and family.
Regular life. Yeah.
I'm honestly still learning. Sometimes taking it one day at a time. That's the most important for me because I can't worry about yesterday or tomorrow. One day at a time, and honestly, just not getting frustrated with myself if I don't complete everything in business life or home life, because sometimes the kids and husband may need me more than the business, and some days the business may need me more than family. Also understanding to separate the two, so trying to get out the house. If I have to do business for real, I find myself, let me go leave. Let me go outside in the car, front porch, wherever it is, because my kids tend to, what you doing and what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, y'all don't see me trying to take care of this business. It's like out of nowhere, they'll just want my attention.
Yeah, they don't want anything till you get on the phone.
It's a lot of that, but once again, learning. Every day is a learning experience for me because days are different. Some days are smooth and some days like, oh, okay, all right, let's stop now.
Yeah.
I would say I think balancing work and regular life, there's probably 3 things that I use. 1, a calendar. Mm-hmm. I work very well with visuals, so writing things down on an old school calendar where you can actually, say from this time to that time, I'm going to be doing this, blocking my time off that way. Using my phone, also setting reminders in my phone. Sometimes I get so busy, I even put reminders in my phone, like, now you need to eat, right? And then the other thing is, the moniker I go under, Energy Elevation Coach. Also am a Reiki practitioner and do meditation. So when I get up, I set the intention, like I'm gonna be effective of everything I have to do work-wise today and do my best also to not neglect whatever I may need for self-care.
That's
that
amazing.
day as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always get it perfect. I think the key thing, especially for entrepreneurs, is to remain flexible and hold grace for yourself because some days are easier than others.
Yeah.
The part where you said the calendar,
Yes.
I had to learn that in like the last year, because you be overbooking yourself for things.
Yeah.
So that definitely is a great tool that I've started using for myself.
Amazing. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. So, so what is it that actually motivates you? What keeps you guys going?
I go first. I'm not a 9-to-5 kind of person. I've been working since I was 14 with a summer job, and then it transitions to just having a job. And I realized I don't like everybody else's rules, because some of them are a little tacky and a little overbearing.
Yeah.
And then as I became a mother, learning that I needed flexibility, and companies don't always want to give you that. It's like their way or no way. So something that someone told me before, that was like, treat all your companies you ever work for, as far as employers, treat them as a paid internship. So whatever you've learned from them, you take with your own business and you run it how you want to. Not saying I won't ever take what they've taught me, because some stuff you do need. You need some structure, you need some boundaries, but just knowing that people have lives outside of the workplace, knowing that people, they don't come into your job and just have a straightforward life, everything just in order, and having that understanding. So I knew years ago, like, I need to retire as being an employee. Like, it's getting to that point, because I believe, and I think it's just happened to me a lot. Like 2 years into a company, you kind of know if you want to stay or not stay.
Yeah.
And by that second year, it's like, yeah, I'm starting to feel like a little time to put it out there.
But in 2 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I'm doing 90 days. During that 90-day probation period, that's my probation for you too.
Right.
We're gonna figure it out.
That 2 years, I'm like, okay, I've had a company be longer, a little longer than that, but even after that, I'm like, yeah, it's not for me to leave. This is it. The raises aren't that great, and yeah, I'm ready to go.
I understand that. How about you?
What was the question?
What motivates you to keep going when you feel like giving up?
I want to say, I think the gym motivates me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So plus having flexibility to do whatever it is that I want to do, being able to eat how I want, wake up when I want. Just, I think that flexibility, it's unmatched. Like she mentioned before, when you work for another company, you're following their rules, their guidelines, their policies. It's almost like you're punching in and punching out. But when you work for yourself, you don't have to follow those strict guidelines. Not saying that you shouldn't have some guidelines for yourself, because you should, those healthy boundaries in the organization. But I think the motivation for me just comes from just feeling free, honestly. I feel like I can do my own thing.
Maybe working a little bit more, but
Right,
it's yours.
Right. It's your time.
It's yours, yes.
You own that stress.
Manage.
That's yours. Yeah.
I think I would speak to the audience member that maybe is hybrid entrepreneur, because even though I have my own business, there is still some work that I do part-time for other companies. And, the biggest thing that drives me is remembering that I'm in control of manifesting how I want my life to be. Whatever path I may need to take to create my dreams. Like these ladies were saying, I spent a good portion of my adult career in corporate America. I'm no longer in corporate. I love being able to wake up and do what I want to do and work remote for the companies that I assist, and then with the things that I do. So I think what drives me, or my why, is really remembering that I'm in the driver's seat. And I think for entrepreneurs, post-pandemic, it's not, if you have a business of your own, but it may not be to the point where it can take care of your total lifestyle, and you work hybrid or you work part-time, there's nothing wrong with that. Just figure out how to craft the lane that's appropriate for you, and win at that every day. Don't necessarily make it about how somebody else is doing entrepreneurship. It's really like what works for you, your business, and your family.
I like when you said that, find your why. I feel like that's a very important thing. It's really figuring out what it is that's driving you. It's not the money at this point, because when you first start, ain't no money for real. You know what I mean? When you first start, there's a lot of different challenges that you face. And so finding your why is definitely an important and very key to keep going. What advice would you give to an upcoming African-American Black female entrepreneur or any other business owner?
Believe in yourself at all times.
At all times, yeah.
That's really important, and surround yourself with people that are going to feed the direction you're going in, not distract you, deter you, steal from your confidence. You know,
it's difficult.
Yeah, and I think one way for Black women or women of color to be successful in business is really get with the right mentor. Yes. You know, I have a mentor in the speaking part of my business who says there really are no shortcuts, but the shortest shortcut is having a mentor.
Yeah.
So sometimes having the right mentor, you can avoid some of the pitfalls and get to whatever success looks like for you more quickly because you're working with somebody that you can trust. And so have a mentor, believe in yourself, and be coachable.
Yes.
That's another thing.
That's good.
I want to piggyback on what you just said with the mentorship. Someone once told me experience is the best teacher, but only fools can't learn any other way. And I feel like as Black women, we don't necessarily have to set the precedence for something. If someone else is doing something and we can learn from them, then we can help create our own flow from someone else's, experience. And I think it's important for us to value other people's input to help shape us as we work towards entrepreneurship. And like you said, the motivation piece, making sure you surround yourself with people who are going to be supportive, as opposed to deducing from what you're trying to put out there. That's really, really important, especially for Black women.
Yes.
Yeah. So she said it in her way, and I was thinking, don't doubt yourself, even if they're doubting you, because you're going to come up against that. I'm a woman in trucking, and we find out every day, they're making sure this is what men do. Y'all go sit down, but women constantly are coming through saying we can drive the trucks, we can do whatever y'all doing, and make it look good as well. You see the women doing their podcasts, doing their videos, showing how they're balancing life and trucking, even if they're doing long distance. So just not giving up on yourself. Before we even got on the road and had a truck, we were investing in our business and getting paperwork done for a year straight.
Yeah.
And we could have just been just taking too long. So we started last year, March, and then we got a truck this year, January, and got on the road around that time. And it has its ups and downs. We still have people who think we're guys if we don't tell them hey, she'll be showing up, but it's just not. It's not giving them ourselves. And also, we do prayer. We make sure. I tell myself we have to pray over this business because, or any business, but for us, we gotta pray because you don't want nobody to speak anything bad over it. Because I'm quick to shut it down. Don't say that. Don't do that. And I do come up against guys you can't do that. This and that. Or you ain't capable. And I'm like, all right. My sister got a whole CDLs. I learned from her. She really is our mentor. She's the youngest of the team, but since she has her CDLs, and I'm gonna stop there. But yeah, just like I said, have faith in yourself and don't let nobody else tell you anything different.
So what do you feel like would be one of the biggest challenges that you all have faced in not just starting, but scaling at this point, your business to help it grow?
Ooh, I feel like I'm still kind of in the process.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna just say where I am right now. For me, I think just balancing the wearing different responsibilities and usually, maybe unless you're a trust fund or have a lot of seed funding, you will probably be wearing multiple hats when you first start your business or your enterprise.
And the hats are not cute, all of them.
Yeah, and they can leave you feeling worn out and tired, right? So I think for me, I am in a process of scaling some of the things I offer, like my radio show and some of my speaking, gaining more Reiki clients. But the key that I'm learning before I get to being able to hire an assistant or something like that, I always have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. And a mentor in my life told me recently, don't prioritize giving your best to everything and everyone else. And then by the time you get to what you need for yourself, you don't have enough energy or time left, right? Because business is an extension of who we are. I think the way that translates to success is if you're showing up with your cup filled, then that's an extension into your business. So I would just say, don't neglect taking care of yourself. I think there's a correspondence between an entrepreneur being in a healthy place And when they're in that healthy place, their business is able to thrive and scale.
Yeah. Can you say the question one more time?
The biggest challenges that you face while not just starting, but growing now, scaling your business.
I say for us, it is capital.
Yeah.
We're looking to get a second truck, more like a tractor, so my sister can get on the road since she has her CDLs. It is really building our business credit, getting the accounts. So we do have a mentor, a financial mentor that my second sister, business partner, we don't say business partner, my second business partner has, and she's helped us get some credit lines, we'll say that. But just getting capital for the truck, or having good days in business, because we in a trucking business, and unfortunately Ohio, you would think it's a great trucking state, but it's really not.
Yeah.
You really got to get on the road. So our challenge is being mothers, and wanting to have that time with our kids, but still understanding, we got to go drive. Because everybody like, y'all driving? That's, like, this is what we got to do. So we got to rotate who has all our kids, time with my husband, because sometimes it's like, I gotta get on the road, husband, I'm sorry, unless you want to go with me, and then we just ship the kids to one of the other business partners. But the capital and just the being a mom, you don't want, because kids, they know when they're young, they're like, where you at, what you doing, when you coming home, and all of that stuff. But I try to have conversations with them, because they understand, like, you gotta go to work, can you stay home? I want to get to that point where we can just hire everybody in our position and we can pay them and still make a profit, but we're not there yet. But capital and being a mom, it's great, because like I said, we have a mentor, like we spoke in other questions, having a mentor, but just going through that process of getting to the, we got this capital, getting the grants, getting the loans, people taking us serious, that, but just working through this process. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I think for me, the hardest part with scaling, for me, it would look like adding another therapist or something like that, to help with the workload. So for my caseload is currently full, but when I start bringing on new clients, then I have to have, a therapist that's ready to take on those clients. But then it's scary, because you're putting faith that this therapist is going to maintain, or the acceptance of their position. Yeah. Because then if they leave and then you put all this work in, money, advertisements to get this clientele, then you have them and they're just sitting there. You can't work with them if you don't have that person. So the time it takes to get someone to go through the background check, which is what I'm doing right now, and then building the clientele in anticipation of them coming on, preparing your website for those changes. There's a lot, when it comes to, expanding the business, but it can be scary.
Yeah. A lot of people don't think or speak on the back end process. You think a lot about what you're doing, the physical aspect, the everyday, the day to day, but are your books in order? Do you even have books? You know what I mean? Like, do you even have an LLC? There are businesses that function as a business.
Business or business?
Yeah, exactly. So that is definitely a big thing that a lot of people don't think about. And it is one of the hardest parts about scaling, because that's where that information, they pull that information to give you the funding, to give you the credit and stuff like that. So that's very important. How do you deal with like obstacles, like as far as like reaching a glass ceiling? Like if, getting to a point where you feel like you can't go any further than where you are currently?
I would say for me, because I'm in mental health and I want to be able to provide support to families and, change communities, I'm realizing that there's a lot of, like you said, back-end work that needs to be done when it comes to mental health. And I would say the glass ceiling for me is realizing there are certain doors that are knocked on that will never be open for me. And so I feel like to change that, I had to go back to school. So I'm back in school working on my doctorate degree, just so that I can do research, helping the Black community, because if we're not doing it, then who is?
Absolutely.
Right? And people see me And, I'm Caribbean, I'm petite, I'm Black. There's all these things that make it seem like I would never be able to produce the kind of work needed to help the community. So I always have to present myself in a professional, with a professional front so that I can ensure that I'm getting the needs met for the community, my overall goal. Absolutely.
That's good. I'm going to say you go through a season where so I was talking with someone earlier and I told them like you go through a season of being in places where you're tolerated and then you go to places where you're celebrated. Mm-hmm. And we all have to go through that process. And it's okay, because for me, I'm going to keep reaching and I understand that there's more than one way to do things. Even if somebody tell me there's only one way, the way my brain is set up, yeah, okay, until I try it myself. I also had a phrase just on the spiritual side that said, you've never met a person, they've never met you, so they're going to doubt you. Be okay with it. Mm-hmm. We just got to be okay that people are going to doubt you, but continue working towards what you see. We all have our own imaginations. We all know where we want our businesses to go. So the job is to, hey, I got to get to what I saw. You may not have seen it. You may not even understand it. It may even sound crazy to you, but I'm going to keep working this. There's going to be pit stops, detours, all of that, but I'm going to keep working it. So I don't really worry about hitting the glass ceiling or coming up against people who just doubt, but I just keep working. And as we stated before, like surround ourselves with people who can continue encouraging us even in those doubtful times, or this ain't about to take us. Like you said, mental health in the Black community is now at a time where we're understanding how important it is to acknowledge it first of all, and then start getting into a healthy state.
And I think to answer that question, around the time of the beginning of the pandemic, I had to have a mental shift around entrepreneurship. And as far as a glass ceiling, I think the epiphany I had was, it's my responsibility to create opportunities for my business.
Absolutely.
There's really only a glass ceiling if you are dependent upon some other entity to kind of advance what you're doing, right? That's not to say that it's easy or that you're gonna have it all figured out, but I think the more that I just start thinking about, well, I don't always have to wait for somebody to book me to create an opportunity to speak. Or I don't necessarily have to go the traditional route of trying to get my radio show, Conversations in Courage, with your girl, Imani Capri. No shameless plug there. But I don't have to wait, to try to get into syndication. Yeah. There are other avenues and other ways. So I've also seen that, you never know who's watching you. Mm-hmm. And this is really smart. If you're using your social media well for your business, you never know who's watching you and what opportunities may come up because people see you in your lane. Mm-hmm. And just saying, you know what? I'm not going to compare myself to other people. I'm not going to worry about what may not be here yet. I'm going to do everything that I can do to create opening and opportunity for my business. And just putting that kind of focus on, at least for me, other people see that and are like, you know what? Are you free to do X, Y?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you and your business engage with or support your community? And you spoke a lot about that, both of you actually, with your mental health practices and even with just making awareness for, meditation and manifestation, as you spoke on.
So I would say 3 ways that I serve the community with my businesses. 1, the radio show Conversations in Courage airs on Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on WOVU.org. Anybody in the world can listen there. The theme of that show is having guests share about their journeys with courage. And the guests come from all over, not just this local area. With my Reiki business, that is actually, that aspect of my business is working with people to help them heal at an energetic level, right? Clearing the chakras, releasing energy from old traumas. That serves the community in a variety of different ways. And then with the motivational speaking, I've been through a lot in my life. So sharing my personal story and being able to say whether you've gone through childhood sexual abuse or any other type of tragedy, you get to decide what you want the rest of your life to look like. Absolutely. If you have the courage to heal and the courage to, do the work on yourself.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I would add to that, like with my social media page, I like to provide mental health tips and tools just to help anyone who's following me, or just anyone at all who may be struggling with some type of mental health issues. I speak generally on anxiety, depression, trauma, and relationships. Those are my specialties. But I do so on Instagram and Twitter. I think another thing that I do that helps the community is providing pro bono work. So sometimes, I either provide, especially directly after COVID, or not directly after, within COVID, I provided free groups, anxiety groups, just for anyone who had any questions.
Oh God, that was so needed, yeah.
Needed to connect to like a resource or something, but didn't know how to, was afraid to. I just had a free open session. Anyone come in, ask your question, you're not obligated to stay, and I just provide that support for anyone who needed that. And then sometimes I would have free, sessions as well for individuals who may need additional support. So I try to keep maybe 1 or 2 pro bono clients.
Awesome.
So right now, not connected to the community simply because we ship for businesses. So it's business to business. I do believe it's something that we would want to get into later down the line. We are looking to get our MBE certification so that we could connect with the government contracts to do more things in the community. But just per myself, just give out random advice to people whenever I can. Well, it's not random advice, but if I know something or can research it, I give that. That's my part to the community.
That's a big deal, though. Again, if you don't have a mentor, being able to have someone, an actual person that you can come to that's a wealth of knowledge, like that's helpful. Because trying to Google everything is hard. Yeah. And so, who inspires you the most?
For me, I'll say family members. It's in my blood to be an entrepreneur. My mom, living in the projects in Akron, Ohio, had a whole store out of our apartment, and people came in and bought. And like just learning about my dad's side, we're Nigerian, he's from Lagos, Nigeria. Come to find out, my grandfather left the family a whole apartment building with like all these rooms. So he's an apartment owner and a water well owner. So people come buy water, and he also has a car sales business over in Lagos. So I believe it's in my genes to be an entrepreneur. Once again, like I said before, just working for people is just like I have to get myself together. Like okay, but I think my family members, my mom, my dad. Just hearing stories about how they lived and just watching my parents do what they do especially my dad, just to be able to retire, 4 kids. Well, honestly, it's my dad for real. Traveled from Lagos, Nigeria, that's thousands of miles, came here, educated, went to school, graduated, joined the Army, retired from the city of Cleveland as a mechanic. Own a house, and then now he's at a point where he can go back and forth home 2 or 3 times a year. And people looking at me, I'm like, yeah, y'all just don't understand. Like that's the kind of life I'm trying to live. And also just having my kids have that kind of experience as well, because they don't feel like your neighborhood is the only part that you can go to, or as far as I can take you. So yeah, my mom and dad, more so my father, but my mom has done some things that has been like, okay, she done broke through and showed me that I can do some stuff, and I'll be a little bit nervous. But yeah.
So who inspires me? I would say a large part of my inspiration comes from my mother and my maternal grandmother, who recently transitioned earlier this year. My mother did a career in the military, the U.S. Army.
Wow.
And she, for many years as a child, had the dream of becoming a yoga instructor.
Really?
So my mom is like in her early 60s, but during the pandemic, she got her certification as a yoga instructor.
That's
you know,
amazing.
and at 60 something years old, my mother can do things and I'm like, ouch, I can't, I can't split and all that other type of stuff, right? So just seeing my mom have the courage after different things she's gone through in her life to still pursue her dream, that inspired me. And then my grandmother was like a real old school from down south North Carolina, grew up in the country with Black teachers and all that type, like an old school grandmother. And I think what inspired me the most about her was how much she instilled in us that family is everything.
Yes.
And you just always do your best to be there for family. But she also was an entrepreneur in her own way because she was a phenomenal cook. And she, cooked people's Thanksgiving dinners for a fee.
Really?
She made homemade rolls for a fee, desserts, all kind of different things. We're like, why don't you open a business? She's like, no, I just want to do it right here from the kitchen.
Yeah.
So those are my two inspirations.
That's awesome.
I would say the same for me, my family, and also the church. I feel like from my experience, my parents, they own a business. They had like an IT business. My dad did all the work. My mom did all the accounting. And just seeing them work together, even though the business didn't last, extremely long, but seeing them work together, having that experience and being, in the mix of all of that, it inspired me. It made me motivated to do something of my own as well. And then the path that got me to mental health was being in a church and realizing that there were things that were needed that beyond just the scope of, God and church and things like that. The Lord also provided us with mental health. And,
You cannot play rape trauma, okay?
Right.
That is a big thing. Yeah.
Right. You can't just pray things away. Yes, that is, one of the tools and strategies useful to helping people with healing, but it's also being able to connect to community. And I think because of those experiences, it's kind of guided me to where I am today.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining me. And I really appreciated all of your insight. And anything else that you guys want to share before we go, or any last words that you may want to give us?
I would like to just remind your watchers, with courage, you can do anything.
That's amazing. I like that.
Well, I guess I just piggyback on what you're saying, continue to stay motivated, keep your head on the right path, and then just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today to share and hear these ladies as well.
I think we all had the same thing to say. I was going to say, never give up. What also came to mind is read books on what you don't know.
Yes.
We didn't say
Educate yourself all the time.
Yes, but reading books, watching videos, all of those things go a long way with this journey of being an entrepreneur, because you want your business to last for generations, not just while you're alive.
I would like to thank our guests for participating and thank you for watching. This has been Connect and Create, presented by the Launcharts Network, brought to you by Launcharts Media, a true leader in creative marketing and advertising. We'll see you next time. Bye.